Here we go. All right.
And I got to share this with Heidi and Elva, but I have my daughter who is sick just behind the scenes. So if there are any odd interruptions, that's going to be that. All right, so I do have the agenda pulled up. Is that what you're seeing? Just want to make sure. Okay. So I did pull in a few things that would have been maybe briefly discussed on the call last time, but just wanted to see if we would catch any more people this time. So I'll keep it brief again, just so that we don't have to kind of be redundant. But the results of that evaluation survey that we're just kind of asking about the needs of different people, whether they're in the evaluation committee or not. We got, I mean, in my opinion, a pretty good turnout of those results. So sorry, bear with me as I switched screens. We had 21 people take the survey, which was nice to kind of share general areas of support. And they got to choose the top 3 that were showing up for them in areas of support. So I just kind of wanted to go over this briefly just to share maybe an informed future focus areas for the committee to work on.
We still see the agenda, Caitlin.
Oh,
Did you
shoot.
want to put
Okay.
something else up?
I did, but
Okay.
maybe I can make it so that I share just the screen instead of a specific tab. That's probably what I did wrong. Hi, Vic. I'm just seeing you joining now.
Good morning.
Is that showing SurveyMonkey now? Great.
Yes.
Okay. So this again is, as I said, was just the first question, asking just any areas of support, up to 3 choices to kind of pinpoint where collectively we could support a little bit more. And so these shows you a little bit of the visual, but it cuts off the text. So I'm just going to scroll down and this will show in the same kind of most selected to least selected order. So for the top type of response, 9 people chose local objectives, that they would have a need of support in that area. Developing, changing. I know that with GEPR measure changes, we kind of got encouraged to make additional changes, kind of simplifying, making sure they're not duplicating. So there might be some related help and support we could provide in that area. And then organizing, managing data, and just kind of it's a large bucket of what that could mean. And then the 21 APR reporting. And then a lot of kind of close 4th place, 1, 2, just GEPR measures in general, assessment tools, visual representation of data. So I think though, really informative to kind of maybe just start with these top 3. We've been ongoing working on the 21st reporting anyway, so that's good that we can still do that as the time approaches when I think it opens August 3rd, the window for reporting this next time for the student information demographics window. So just maybe that can be our August meeting or fall meeting for one of these. Okay, so that's kind of the main component of this. The rest of the survey was kind of just engaging. If you're coming to the committee, what are you hoping to get out of it? And so still important, but I feel like we're kind of on track, just making tools and resources for people and making improvements to the different things that we're working on. So that's kind of been our focus anyway. So I felt like that was more affirming. And then this was something that was on a previous version of the survey where people could just kind of share what they are doing in different areas that kind of aligns up with that initial list of kind of categories of components of evaluation. So this will all just kind of be used in the background of knowing who might have good resources to talk to in these different types of areas. So at that, I'll just kind of keep it brief on the survey results. I can share out a PDF version of this though for the committee if people just wanted to peruse. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see people's faces again. Any questions on that? No, okay. Then next on the agenda was going to be kind of revisiting again the statewide survey that we had kind of shifted to do month by month committee meeting focuses. So last meeting in April, I did want to review the statewide survey. We just didn't have that many people on, so I wanted to have a chance for this to kind of bubble up again. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure my screen, I keep just choosing the most, okay. The wrong screen sharing option. Okay, so for the statewide survey, the questions that were called to attention were mostly 10 and 11, where last time it didn't shift necessarily to the hourly bands, it still had the 30-day benchmark on there. So some conversation I think around this would be helpful if we just want to have one question that has us report on each individual band, so then it would be kind of a 1-for-1 in how we report in the APR and in the local evaluation. Or, you know, previously with 10 and 11, it was like less than 30 days and then more than 30 days would be like less than 89 hours and more than 89 hours. You still have it chunked out any differently, or it's just one question with all the bands? So I don't have any answer, and maybe Vicky would have a guidance of what with this change would be most helpful to be receiving from the grantees.
Well, if we could do it in one question, that would be preferable. It's a good thing that we're reviewing this, because with those new GEPRA measures, it's going to change some of the data that we look at, and that's what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm. So if it is just mirroring how we report for the other ones, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just makes it easier for us, like, probably anyways. Okay. So I think if I can, I'll make that note in this document to then whoever, I'm not sure who the main editors of the survey, but that was one thing that I don't think we had landed on a full thing other than just being aware.
Heidi's the main editor of the survey.
Great. Okay.
And, this is why this committee talks about it, because your input, you can actually add a question, or maybe there's a question you see that we don't need and we can take it out of there, and that's fine. This is why we ask for your input at these meetings.
Mm-hmm. So I do think that was kind of the main thing. The other note that was gathered, I think, from the committee was just making sure more of just when the time comes to revise the next survey, making sure that the years, just because when they get updated, the summer is always a little bit tricky because it's the full
I
summer
see something.
behind.
Look at the cohorts for funding.
Yeah.
We need to update that, because we're up to cohort 18 and cohort 13 ends.
Yeah, I mean, this was
year.
not me revising fully. This is just last year's copied over, but
So
yeah, 18.
hope you're taking notes, Heidi. This is why you need to have multiple pairs of eyes looking at the stuff, because after a while it gets hard to catch everything, if not impossible to catch everything.
The note about cohort 18 is the brand new one that starts in July. Will that one still be reported on, or no?
Nope.
In this upcoming reporting period?
Well, I think we should put it on there. But you may not have all the data. Just so we get in the habit of every year adding the new cohort, so we don't forget about it following year.
And I think that's somewhat what of the note about making sure that the years are consistent is that summer piece for the brand new grantees who won't have been, because they're going to be one whole year behind of reporting on their summer. So even if they are a new grantee and they did have a summer, is it this for cohort 18? Is it this version of the survey that they would be responding to, or do they wait until 2024 to report on their summer programming?
Yeah, we
That makes
usually
sense.
report our data a year behind and we can put that in there. And
Okay.
here's something to think about. Instead of us having a selection and having to update this every year, why don't we, maybe have a text box so that you can type in the cohort that you're reporting on.
And if it was multiple, you could just type in multiple.
Yeah, and
Cohort.
leave it as a text box that they could provide multiple. I don't know if that would mess up the data though. When it's put out there by SurveyMonkey.
Mm-hmm.
So Caitlin, the other thing about your note about taking off 13 is the one that is ending in June. And
Yeah.
I happen to be one of those. And so I still have to do the 21 APR. Will I be required to do this state?
That's a good question. We probably should leave it in then. And then take off, 11 and 12 from this list. Because we don't have any contact with them. It's a good point. Thanks for mentioning it, Lynn.
All right, I'm gonna deal with the one moment of childcare. And if there are any other comments on this survey, I can try to drop the link to this Google Doc in the chat so you could each individually open it up as well.
Well, while we're waiting, let me say this. How I always like to watch, make sure you guys get paid. I was informed that today everybody is going to get paid for the 21st century third quarter claims. So if you don't get paid today, send me an email tomorrow so that I can follow up with that.
Okay, I do think that was I mean, there was only a couple things we were looking at because the rest of the questions were pretty, I mean, we've worked on this in many iterations and I don't know that there was any additions that were requested of. Oh, here's a note here. Just a general note about how to word, let's see, add any options that appear. Okay, so yeah, after we see entries in this other category, if those eventually need to get added. So that would depend on whoever has access to the results from the previous year to see if there's any things that have been common things that could get added as an option. I do think that is the last kind of note we had together. I don't know what that red thing is. Okay, so if you do have access to this link now, then you can kind of review, but Heidi, I will just share this again with you for any comments that were gathered today.
That sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, so for what we had, sorry, she's not happy right now. 1 second. Okay, for June, what I had as in our kind of committee guide that had been worked on, and this is just kind of somewhat arbitrary of which months to focus on which things, but the statewide report we thought maybe would land in June. Obviously, I don't think it is out yet there yet. And then also the evaluation timeline, which is this type of document that has, existed. This is the previous year. And I don't see an updated one yet on the 21st website. So I don't have anything to really discuss because I don't have those versions yet. But if there's any comments from Vic or Heidi of when these things would be available for review, that would be helpful, I think.
We're pretty close to finishing the state evaluation. And yeah, we do need to update that timeline because we used to try to get it to you guys in time for the conference in spring. And then, there's been some changing of things. And now since the conference is in the fall, we've got a little wiggle room. And then we took it a little slow too, because one of the guys from R&R had, heart procedure. So, we wanted to move a little slower, but we're almost done. And we'll send you the thing after we get it done, then we send it to the Alliance for some formatting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's great we'll put it on probably the next August meeting then, because I'm sure that'll be ready then.
Wonderful.
And then the timeline, I'm not sure what discussion or conversation we would have around other than just more to, again, this is the last fiscal
Well,
year.
look at it's 2021, and
Mhm.
so we need to kind of adjust it and try to make it as generic as possible. With the new APR too, we're collecting that data now. It's a little more consistent because we start in the summer and we're only
Mhm.
collecting the data once. So we want to make sure that's reflected in here.
Okay, yeah, so I think the APR would be a change. And then I think I had your email pulled up too, Vic, of when the next windows are. Just a different email. Never mind. See if I find it. You can see all my email inbox. There you go. Okay. Yeah, so it's coming up in August 3rd will
Yep.
be our first time for the open date of that first window.
Yeah, I think that they've made a positive change on having us enter the data just once, but having those two windows and having the windows longer. They did listen to us on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good thing.
Okay. Beyond just a general review and update of this, which I don't know that we would need to do live here, just more of a reminder that this tool will need to get updated for this coming start of the next year. So what else is on the agenda? I think just the committee guide again. I think we're just at the point where it is good enough to move on and just have it exist out there. So I think Heidi just will send it to you, and then however it needs to get shared out and live on the 21st website, we can do that.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great. We can
Okay.
send it to directors. We can post it on in the committee page of the
In this
website.
quick video, I just wanted to show you how you could remove some.
Okay, sounds good. The last, I guess, other thing that was also here is just, I know that I had to work with Heidi to make sure that today's meeting was showing up on our calendars. So I just wanted to see if it's just because it'll be the start of the next year calendar or fiscal year. Mine aren't showing up yet for the next meetings. August 1st is when I think it would be appearing. So
Would the rest of the committee let me know if they are seeing the August 1st committee meeting on their Outlook calendars?
And I use Google if that's complicated, like if it's. just
Oh, that
my-
could be, that could
Yeah.
potentially be the issue,
Okay.
Caitlin.
I'm seeing mine on my Google Calendar.
You
You
are,
are
Amy?
seeing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I might just be the black sheep, not having
Well-
it be there.
You know what? Why don't I just forward the series to you again, Caitlin? Because maybe
Okay.
somehow it got, who knows?
Sure. Well, I'm glad that it is showing up, and we'll
There we go.
still try our best to send out the agenda the weeks before anyway to catch people's attention. But yeah, so the next meeting is August 1st. So that is all I had, but then I did have Heidi share with me, Vic, that if we had some time, this guidance that you received.
Oh,
So I can have this pulled up unless you want to pull it up on,
can you make it bigger?
Okay.
I can hardly
Yeah.
see it. Or I could share my screen.
if you would want. Yeah, I can stop sharing if, I don't know, we need to give you access to share. Click here, ready?
Let's see here. All right, give me a sec. I believe that's it. This is the latest iteration too. So they finally, after 20 years, updated the guidance from 2003. And there's different sections in there. And this one is the section on evaluation. And one of the things that they've added is they want us the ability to track student success and improvement over time. Well, in the public comments, I reminded them that in the APR, they still won't let states have access to the archival data. I mean, once we put that data in, we have no access to it anymore, which is a problem. However, one way we can work around that is in the evaluation template. What we're going to ask is that you collect all reading and math data K through 12 as a local measure. And that way, when we do the state evaluation, we can aggregate that and then provide that longitudinal data that's required in the guidance. Plus, it provides a better picture than that little subset that they're asking for in the new APR. They're only asking for like grades 4 through 8. But what if third grade is doing really well and grade, 4 and 5, for some reason they're unusually low? This way we see a bigger picture and we know that, well, that happens sometimes. And that's important because of another element that they've added here.
Vic, can I ask a question?
Sure.
This tracking at K-12, are you talking about those who have attended our program, following them throughout their
No,
career?
no,
Or are you
no,
talking
no.
about-
That's too much work. I wouldn't put that burden on you. If you've got a student in there, and they're in first grade, normally you wouldn't report it in the APR, but you've got that data. We want to, any student that's in your program, we want it reported for that year or the previous year. That way we are keeping track of the progress we're making with the kids in our program. And we're getting better data than what we're required to put in for the feds. And we'll be able to then have those longitudinal reports that the Department of Ed wants us to have. So we're just, we're gonna do what they want, what's required, but we're not gonna go overboard, okay?
And I also just asked one clarifying thing as well. It says for local measures. So this is not touching like GEPRA measures or anything. This is just for
Correct.
our individual local objectives.
Yep. And it'll be two good, good measures to, for everybody, to collect reading and math data. And then, a lot of that data is collected in the, the APR, but that's mainly to generate some federal reports for Congress. And sometimes they don't tell the whole story. And in case you're wondering, why every year do we collect those URLs in the evaluation? Here it is, an SEA must publicly disseminate the evaluation of programs and activities. So we haven't been doing this just for fun. And then again, the local evaluation requirements. One of the things they want you to do is make sure that you're using the results of evaluation to refine, improve, and strengthen the program activities, as well as performance measures. So that's actually in the statute, and in the evaluation template, there's a section for your local evaluator to comment on that. So that's real important. In fact, one of the things the feds didn't find, well, I don't think they read it, but they said we weren't doing this on our evaluation. So I sent them copies of local evaluations where we did have discussions on exactly that area. So just to let you know, they are looking at that. And of course, reasonable and necessary is defined as 4% for your evaluator. And if you're, you collecting data for them, that just comes out of either your admin salary or your personnel salary as needed. And also, making evaluations upon request by having them publicly posted. It's pretty easy. If somebody requests the evaluation, you can just point them to that URL. And then another one of their concerns is that a group that's not an LEA, do they have access to the student achievement data? And, we do want to respect FERPA, but none of our data interferes with FERPA. And we also require the superintendent and principal to sign assurances that they'll comply with the requirements of the grant, which includes data sharing for both evaluation and APR reporting. So hopefully we have our ducks in a row, but if you have any issues, make sure you reach out to me, as soon as possible. Sometimes you get a new superintendent or somebody new in admin, and they don't know that there's already a sharing agreement in place, which is the assurances they sign, and then we can, quickly get rid of that log jam. And then they go in and talk about there are exemptions to those FERPA requirements, but we don't even need those because we're not asking for any student identifiable data. In most cases, we're providing the student names to the school district if we're, if it's not a school district to begin with, to say, these are the kids in the program. Can we have the following data so we can submit it to the APR? And then it tells us that we have to report the program progress on a web portal. And Do we monitor you guys for compliance? Yes, that's one of the requirements. And the evaluation is also viewed by the Department of Ed as a monitoring document. And that's why with all the site visits now, I've been reviewing the local evaluations with you. And we've been having a discussion on that. And then I've got it highlighted here. The NSCA may use a variety of tools to monitor subgrantees such as financial and performance reports, on-site and virtual reviews, and that would be like our site visits. And then periodic check-ins. Then the very last piece is something relatively new. They are pushing for risk assessments. And they're even hiring a new consultant for risk assessments at the department. Oh, joy. They're worried about the risks, and we don't have that problem too much in Iowa, but in other states, apparently they've got, big problems with people taking the money and not providing services for the children. So, but some of those specific conditions, one of the things on those specific conditions is to make the grant a reimbursement. So you spend the money and then we approve the reimbursement of the claim. So we're already doing things at a higher level of risk in Iowa. That's just how we do business. Some states, apparently they just give them the money and then find out what they're doing with it. But there's a whole list of things that they can do. And sometimes, if there's a new program director, I might say, well, we're going to have some regular meetings just to make sure that you're on track with all the requirements. And that also falls under the risk assessment. And I've got a wonderful new risk assessment document too, that I can fill out when I need that, but it's paperwork that I'm going to do. I'm not going to send you guys out like they do in some states, that you'll have to report it to me every year. This will be as needed. So a lot of what we have embedded in our normal practices covers what the feds want in risk assessment. However, they like to have a piece of paper for everything. So we now have a risk assessment for this grant as well. Any questions? Okay, well, Heidi will send you out the updated document for your review, and we'll be going over more of this. There might be some slight changes in the draft, but I don't anticipate a lot of major changes. Usually, there aren't many. So the official one, I think, is going to be coming out in July. They're probably going to release it with the summer symposium.
Great. It sounds like we have a lot of our ducks in a row for all of those guidance pieces anyway. So,
well,
good news.
yeah, I've been at a lot of meetings, so a lot of these things we had already discussed, well in advance.
Awesome. I think that's all we have then for today's meeting, unless anyone did have questions for Vic or anything.
I'll go ahead and stop recording,
Mhm.
Caitlin.